I remember the moment clearly, like watching a car crash in slow motion, only I was the only one who knew it was about to happen. For 2 weeks, I'd been listening to Emily rehearse her breakup speech in the bathroom, assuming I couldn't hear a thing through the thin walls of our flat in Brighton. But, well, I could. And not only that, I'd been silently planning my response the whole time. It all began at a little cafe on Duke Street. I was tucked away in the corner booth, trying to finish some work when Emily walked in with her group of friends. They didn't spot me, and I didn't make myself known. What I overheard in the next half hour threw me off balance. Her friend, Sophie, was holding court like some kind of relationship guru. Leaning in with that conspiratorial smile, she said, "Just tell him you need some space to think things through. Guys panic when they think they're about to lose you. Say it in front of your mates, witnesses make it harder for him to argue. Watch him scramble." Emily hesitated. "But Josh is not like that. He's pretty independent." Sophie waved her hand dismissively. "They all think they're independent until you pull the rug from under their feet. Trust me, I've done this 5 times. They always crawl back. Then you get to set the terms." I took a long sip of my flat white and kept my head down. 5 breakups Sophie was proud of. "What if he just says okay?" Emily asked. "He won't. Men like Josh need to feel needed. Take that away and watch him crumble. Then you can train him to be the husband you actually want. Train him like a dog," she said. I left the cafe without being seen, the weight of what I'd heard pressing down on me. I wasn't angry, just disappointed, painfully clear about what I needed to do next. That night, I looked Sophie up on social media. Her profile was public, and her account, Know Your Worth, had about 15,000 followers. Post after post about relationship tactics, how to make him chase you, how to dominate, how never to settle. Most comments were women eating it up, but scattered among them were people calling her out. One comment caught my eye. "You told my sister to do the same thing. She lost a great guy and spent 2 years regretting it. Stop giving advice that ruins lives." Scrolling back, I found a post from 3 years ago where Sophie wrote about her own breakup. "Sometimes you have to train them or let them go. I let him go. His loss." The comments told a different story, people saying she sabotaged her own relationships with mind games. I took screenshots, just in case. That night I called my brother, Brian. "You remember how you said Emily's mates seemed toxic?" "Yeah." "Why?" I told him everything. He was quiet for a moment before saying, "If she's playing games instead of talking like an adult, she already showed you who she is. Don't try to win her back. Just win." That stuck with me. I wondered if I should confront Emily right away, tell her I knew what she was planning. But Brian laughed. "You think you're ready for this? You're actually enjoying it." Not enjoying it exactly. More like bracing for impact. Over the next 2 weeks, I prepared quietly. Checked my lease, my name only. Counted my savings. Started pulling my stuff out of shared spaces. I kept a journal. Dates, times, everything Emily said or did that felt off. I wasn't paranoid. I was thorough. Thursday, 7 p.m. Emily on the phone with Sophie for 45 minutes. Heard her say, "I'm nervous, but you're right. It needs to be done." Friday confirmed. Saturday, Emily tried on 3 different dresses, practicing expressions in the mirror. Not about us, it was a performance. I listened as she practiced in the bathroom. "I think we need to take a break." "No, too soft." "I think we need to take a break better." The night before, I packed a bag and left it in the car, just in case. Then I slept better than I had in months. Friday morning at work, my mate Derek noticed my calm. "You seem weirdly chill today. Usually you're buzzing about weekend plans." "I am calm. Tonight's going to be interesting." "Good or bad interesting?" "Clarifying interesting," I said with a grin. Ever get that feeling when you know something's coming and you're ready for it? Derek studied me. "What's happening tonight?" "My girlfriend's about to try to manipulate me, and I'm ending it." He nearly spat out his coffee. "So, you're just going to let her walk into it?" "I'm letting her make her choice. Then I'll make mine." Derek shook his head, impressed. "That's cold but fair. Too many people stay in bad situations." "Yeah, well, I'm done with bad situations. That evening, Emily showed up with her entourage. Sophie, Rachel, and 2 others I barely knew. They arranged themselves like judges in my living room. I was on the armchair by the window, beer in hand. Emily sat down, exuding that rehearsed confidence. Sophie gave an encouraging nod. "Josh, we need to talk," Emily began. "I've been thinking a lot about us. I think we need a break." The friends nodded in unison. Sophie smirked. I took a slow sip. "Okay." Silence thickened the room. Emily blinked. "Okay? Yeah, okay. If that's what you want, that's what you'll get." It wasn't in the script. Confusion flickered across their faces. Sophie jumped in. "Don't you want to know why? Don't you want to talk about this?" I looked Sophie in the eye. "I heard the whole plan at Duke Street Cafe 2 weeks ago. You told her to say this, to control me, watch me panic." I turned to Emily. "No, I don't want to talk about it. You want a break based on manipulation? Done. But here's the thing. I'm making it permanent." The room went silent. Emily's face drained of color. "What do you mean, permanent?" she stammered. I stood. "I mean, I'm done. This isn't a break or a pause. It's over." Sophie started to object. "Actually, I can. And I am." I pulled out my phone, showed my lease. "This is my flat. My name's on the lease. You've got until Sunday to get your things out." Rachel's eyes went wide. Emily's voice cracked. "Josh, please. This isn't what I meant." "Let me quote you," I said. "Let's take a break. That's what you said. Rehearsed for a week, coached by your friend. That's what you're getting. A permanent break." Sophie tried to regain control. "This is toxic behavior." I cut her off. "You coached my girlfriend to manipulate me. You brought a group to my home to witness what you thought would be my humiliation. Now you're surprised I'm not playing along." I looked at each of them. "You all need to leave. Now." They filed out in stunned silence. Emily was the last to go, glancing back with tears in her eyes. I closed the door and locked it. My phone buzzed before I reached the kitchen. Texts from friends of hers apologizing, saying they didn't know the full plan. I replied simply, "You brought witnesses to what you thought was my breakdown. Whether you knew or not, you participated. Don't contact me again." I grabbed my keys and drove to Brian's place in Hove. The calls started coming in, 5 missed by the time I got there. Brian opened the door, took one look at me and said, "Beer." "Yeah." We sat in silence as my phone kept buzzing. At 1:47 a.m., the phone rang for the 14th time. I answered calmly. "Emily, breaks don't come with check-ins. That's not fair." You wanted a break. I'm giving you a permanent one. That's fair. Don't call again." "But I love you." "You don't manipulate people you love. Goodbye." I hung up, blocked her number, and sat in the quiet darkness before heading to bed. Saturday morning came with a muted gray sky hanging over Brighton, matching the dull ache in my chest. My phone buzzed again. A message from Rachel, one of Emily's friends who'd been there that night. "I'm sorry," she wrote. "I didn't know it was going to go like that. Sophie convinced us it was just about making you appreciate Emily more. I feel sick about it." I stared at the screen for a moment before typing back, "Thanks for your honesty. Take care of yourself." Minutes later, Rachel sent me screenshots from their group chat. The messages spilled out like a messy soap opera. "Sophie, he's bluffing. He'll come crawling back by Monday." "Ashley, he seemed pretty serious." "Sophie, trust me, men always do." "Emily, he blocked my number." "Sophie, good. Let him stew. Don't break first." "Rachel, maybe we should have just let them talk alone." "Sophie, Rachel, whose side are you on?" "Rachel, I'm on the side of not playing games with people's relationships." Then Sophie kicked Rachel out of the group. I sighed, shaking my head at the petty drama. Somehow, after everything, it was still about who controlled the narrative. Later, Rachel and I met at Stumptown on Church Road, a cozy little place with exposed brick walls and the smell of freshly ground coffee. She arrived wearing a soft cream blouse that caught the light, paired with dark jeans and ankle boots with just enough heel to make her stride confident but casual. A silver bracelet jingled softly on her wrist as she settled across from me. "I need you to know something," she said, voice low. "Sophie's done this before. 3 other friends, all relationships ended. I think she gets some kind of satisfaction from it." I nodded, swirling the black coffee in my cup. "Thanks for telling me. I'm done with Emily. But this helps me see it wasn't entirely her idea." Rachel's eyes were kind but firm. "Does that change anything?"
No.
Emily chose to listen to someone telling her to manipulate me instead of just talking. "That's on her." She smiled sadly, and we sat in a comfortable silence for a moment. That afternoon, Emily showed up at my flat with her parents. The knock on the door was hesitant. I opened it to find her mom and dad standing there, faces tight with worry. Her father spoke first, trying to mediate. "Josh, isn't this a bit extreme? Can't you two work this out?" I looked him in the eye. "Sir, with respect, your daughter staged an intervention with friends to announce a break as a control tactic. When it didn't go as planned, she made 14 calls to me in one night. This isn't about working things out. It's about boundaries." Her mother glanced at Emily. "Is that true?" Emily's tears spilled freely. "It wasn't supposed to be like this." I shook my head. "It was supposed to be me begging. Instead, it's you learning actions have consequences." I helped them load boxes, her books, clothes, trinkets I barely recognized, but kept my distance from Emily. Every time she tried to speak privately, I redirected. Everything that needs to be said has been said. By Sunday evening, the flat felt emptier but lighter. I changed the locks and ordered a cheesy pizza, sitting on the couch in the quiet. The walls bore faint shadows where her pictures once hung. The bookshelf looked half empty without her novels, but it finally felt like mine again. My phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. I almost ignored it but checked anyway. "This is Emily's dad. I wanted to apologize. We didn't know what really happened until today. Your response was more than fair. Sorry we questioned you. You're a good man. She made a bad choice." I stared at the message, then replied, "I appreciate that. Thank you." Seconds later, another message. "For what it's worth, we're proud of how you handled yourself. I hope Emily learns from this." I set the phone down, looked around my flat, and let the silence settle in. Tomorrow I'd take down the pictures, patch the holes, and make this place completely mine. But tonight, I just wanted to sit in the quiet and feel grateful for clarity. A week later, the tension between Emily and me was still thick enough to cut with a butter knife, but life had to go on. Our mutual friends, Amy and Scott, had arranged a picnic at Preston Park weeks before everything fell apart. Neither Emily nor I wanted to back out. No one wanted to be the one hiding. The park was lush and green, early summer dappling sunlight through the oak trees. Families strolled past, kids laughing as they chased after frisbees and balloons. Amy had set up a blanket near the duck pond, with a picnic basket overflowing with homemade sandwiches, crisps, and lemonade. The smell of fresh cut grass mingled with the faint scent of sunscreen. Emily arrived with Sophie and a lone remaining friend, dressed in a flowing navy sundress that caught the breeze just so, paired with delicate gold hoops that caught the light every time she turned her head. Her hair was pulled back loosely, strands framing her face softly. A subtle, calculated effort to look approachable but still in control. I showed up with Brian and a couple of coworkers, my own casual jeans and a crisp white shirt making me look more put together than I felt. The moment we all saw each other, the air thickened with unspoken questions and awkward glances. Amy, ever the peacemaker, tried to break the ice. "Okay, so none of us knew about the breakup when we planned this picnic. But you're both adults. We can be civil, right?" The conversation was stiff but functional until Sophie started dropping comments loud enough for me to hear. "Some people just can't handle strong women who know what they want." I ignored it, but Brian wasn't so passive. "Is that what we're calling manipulation now?" he said sharply. Sophie stood up, arms crossed, eyes flashing. "Excuse me? You coach my brother's girlfriend to play mind games? That's not strength. It's insecurity." The group went quiet, eyes darting between Sophie and Brian. Emily's face flushed crimson, mortified. Sophie tried to defend herself. I was helping her. I finally spoke, voice calm but firm. You were helping yourself feel better about your failed relationships by sabotaging hers. Amy looked confused. Wait, what's going on? I took a breath. 2 weeks ago, I overheard Sophie coaching Emily and the others at a cafe. The plan was for Emily to announce a break, watch me panic and beg, then use that desperation to control the relationship going forward. They even brought friends to my flat to witness what they thought would be my humiliation. Scott's eyes widened. Seriously? Emily spoke quietly. It wasn't supposed to go like that. It wasn't supposed to fail, I said. But here's the thing about manipulation, I added. It only works if the target doesn't see it coming. Amy looked at Emily. Why didn't you just talk to him if something was wrong? Emily had no answer. Sophie tried again. Relationships need power dynamics. Voices rose as multiple people spoke at once. Scott called it toxic. Amy insisted healthy relationships don't work that way. Brian quipped, that's why she's single. Completely humiliated, Sophie grabbed her things and stormed off. Emily sat frozen on the blanket, tears welling again. Rachel, who had arrived late, sat down beside her quietly. I told you Josh is a good guy. You lost him because you listened to someone who's never had a successful relationship. Emily left a few minutes later, devastated. Amy came over as I packed up. I'm sorry we didn't know. You're handling this with a lot of grace. I shrugged. I'm just done with games. Life's too short. 2 days later, I signed the lease on a new flat in Knoll Hill, just a short walk from the South Downs. Smaller than what I shared with Emily, but it was mine, completely mine. Moving day was oddly therapeutic. Brian helped me haul boxes up the stairs. He looked around the half-empty living room and grinned. You packed light. No literal or metaphorical baggage. I raised an eyebrow. Both. I'd sold or donated most of the furniture we bought together. New couch, new bed, new everything. Felt symbolic. That first night in my new place, I ordered an extra-large margarita. Sat on the bare floor with the pizza box. No TV, no coffee table. Just me and the quiet satisfaction of a fresh start. I texted Brian, moved in. Feels good. His reply was instant. Proud of you, man. That takes guts. It didn't feel like guts, more like common sense. Finally doing what I should have the moment I heard Sophie's voice in that cafe. But little did I know the storm wasn't over yet. In the weeks that followed, Emily didn't give up easily. Flowers arrived at my office. Bright tulips and lilies in a vase so delicate it looked like it belonged in a museum. I donated them to the local hospital's waiting room. No point letting her attempts linger in my flat like ghosts. Then came a letter slipped under my door. I read it once, felt nothing, and crumpled it into the bin. The handwriting was familiar, the words dripping with remorse and promises, but my heart was armored. She showed up at the gym one evening, standing near the climbing wall where I was wrapping my fingers with tape. Caught her eye but didn't react. I walked past her to the locker room without a word. No confrontation, no closure, just the cold silence of boundaries drawn in stone. Emily tried texting me from a new number. I blocked it immediately. One afternoon at the climbing gym, I ran into Scott from the picnic. He was belaying his wife Amy on a challenging route, muscles taut and focused. When she reached the top, they both laughed, and Scott spotted me. Josh! Hey! Didn't know you climbed here. Yeah. Just getting back into it, I said, wiping sweat from my brow. We grabbed water in the corner, the conversation easy but cautious. After a pause, Amy joined us, fresh from her climb, cheeks flushed and eyes bright. She looked at me seriously. Emily called me yesterday, crying. Asked if she had any chance with you. I took a long sip of water, steadying myself. What did you tell her? That some things can't be unfixed. She made her choice and now has to live with it. Amy nodded thoughtfully. Was that the right thing to say? I shrugged. Honest is what I appreciate. Scott chimed in. For what it's worth, we told the others what really happened. What Sophie did. Most people are on your side. I nodded but shook my head slightly. I'm not looking for sides. Just looking for peace. Amy smiled softly. Looks like you've found it. Emily wasn't done, though. She posted cryptic messages on social media. Vague talks about mistakes and regrets. She reached out to Brian, who politely declined to get involved. She tried creating chance encounters at the grocery store near the climbing gym on the bus. I maintained complete boundaries. No engagement, zero contact. Friends began to ask if I was being too harsh. I told them the same thing every time. I'm not being harsh. I'm being clear. She had 4 years to talk to me like an adult. She chose manipulation instead. I'm just respecting the break she asked for. Some mutual friends stopped talking to me altogether, having only heard Emily's side and deciding I was the villain. I didn't fight for those friendships. If they couldn't ask for my side, they weren't the kind of friends I needed. But others reached out privately, people who'd known us both for years. Marcus, a guy I played basketball with, sent me a long text. Man, I heard what really happened. Emily told Rachel, Rachel told Amy, Amy told my girlfriend. I just want you to know that took guts. Most guys would have tried to make it work or gotten revenge. You just stood your ground and walked away. That's strength. Messages like that didn't validate my choice, but they reminded me people could see through manipulation if they bothered to look. Still, the past wasn't done with me. 3 weeks after the breakup, I was jogging near the seafront when I spotted Emily waiting outside my building. She looked different, less styled, more natural. No makeup, hair pulled into a messy bun, wearing a simple gray hoodie and well-worn sneakers. Please, she said, voice trembling. Just 5 minutes. I stopped but kept my distance. 1 minute. She took a deep breath, tears in her eyes. I was stupid. I listened to the wrong person. I miss you. I miss us. Can't we try again? I'll cut Sophie off completely. I'll do whatever it takes. I exhaled slowly, calm but firm. Emily, you didn't just listen to the wrong person. You chose manipulation over communication. You brought witnesses to watch what you thought would be my breakdown. When it didn't work, you called me 14 times in one night. That's not a mistake. That's a choice. Multiple choices. But people can change. Maybe. But you need to change for yourself, not to win me back. And I need to be with someone who doesn't need to change from being manipulative in the first place. I started toward the building door. For years meant everything, until you treated our relationship like a game. That ended it. Not me. You. I paused, looking back. I genuinely hope you figure yourself out, but figure it out away from me. Her voice cracked. I love you. I shook my head. You love the idea of not losing. There's a difference. I opened the door without looking back. It's over. A few days later, Brian dropped by with some Chinese takeout, balancing the familiar cardboard boxes like a peace offering. We ate in his living room, the quiet between us filled only by the occasional clink of chopsticks against plates. After a while, he broke the silence. Mum called. Emily's mum reached out to her, wanted to know if there's any way to fix this. I set down my chopsticks, feeling the weight of the question. What did Mum say? That she raised you to have boundaries and she's proud you're sticking to them. Brian grinned, shaking his head. Then she asked if Emily's mum knew what actually happened. Apparently, she didn't. I raised an eyebrow. What did Mum say? She filled her in. How'd that go? Brian chuckled. Let's just say Emily's mum apologized for calling. We both laughed softly, the tension easing. You know what's interesting? Brian continued. Everyone who knows the full story sides with you. It's only the people who heard Emily's version who think you're being harsh. That's how manipulation works, I said. Control the narrative. You could control it too. Post about it, tell everyone. I shook my head. I don't need to. The truth comes out eventually. It always does. Brian studied me for a moment. You're different. Calmer. Lighter somehow. I feel lighter, I admitted. Like I've been carrying something heavy for years and finally put it down. He nodded. Most guys would be angry, bitter. I'm disappointed, not betrayed, I said quietly. There's a difference. You can only be betrayed if you trusted someone completely. I hadn't fully trusted Emily for months. This just confirmed why. Meanwhile, word was spreading through our circle about Sophie's pattern. Multiple women came forward with similar stories. Her Know Your Worth relationship advice account got exposed on a local Reddit thread. Comments flooded in, calling out her toxic tactics. Her follower count dropped by 60% in a week. Initially, Sophie doubled down, posting about weak men who can't handle confident women. But it backfired spectacularly. Screenshots of her coaching sessions were shared everywhere. Eventually, she deleted her account and moved to London. The friend group completely dissolved. Rachel called me a few weeks later with an update. I thought you should know what happened after everything blew up. I was all ears. Sophie lost her job. Turns out she was spending work hours coaching people on manipulation tactics. Someone sent screenshots to her boss. She got fired for misuse of company time and resources. That's not on me, I said. I know, Rachel replied. I'm just telling you because you should know the full picture. Rachel paused. Ashley and Morgan apologized to Emily, said they never should have gone along with it. But the damage was done. The whole friend group fell apart, she added. And Emily? She's seeing a therapist. A real one. Twice a week. Cut off all social media. She's actually doing the work, Josh. For real this time. Good for her, I said. I mean that. I know you do, Rachel said softly. That's what makes this so sad. You really cared about her becoming better. Just not with you. Exactly. Rachel started her own content about healthy communication, using her experience as a cautionary tale. No names mentioned. 6 months later, I was settled into my new flat near the South Downs. Smaller but nicer. Closer to the trails where I ran most mornings. Life had simplified in the best way. I'd rekindled my love for rock climbing at the local bouldering gym. My friendships were stronger, more authentic. Work was going well. I was dating casually, no pressure. And for the first time in years, I had peace of mind. One Saturday afternoon, Brian stopped by, looking around the flat with a smile. You're doing good, man. Better than good, I said. I feel clearer than I have in years. Turns out, ending something toxic isn't the hard part. Yeah. The hard part is admitting it was toxic in the first place. There was a knock at the door. Rachel showed up to return a book she'd borrowed. We'd stayed friendly. Emily's in therapy, she said casually. Real therapy, not Sophie's manipulation coaching. I ran into her last week. She asked if you were doing okay. What did you tell her? That you're thriving. Because you are. After Rachel left, Brian asked, ever think about reaching out? She seems like she's actually working on herself. I considered it. I hope she is. But working on yourself doesn't erase what you did. Doesn't entitle you to a second chance with someone you already showed you were willing to manipulate. Brian nodded. Fair enough. A few evenings later, I found myself on a third date with Sarah, someone I met through the climbing group. She was refreshingly straightforward. No games, no tests, just honest conversation. We chose a small Italian bistro tucked away on a quiet street in Kemptown. The warm glow of candlelight flickering against exposed brick walls as we settled into a cozy corner. Sarah wore a simple but elegant emerald green dress that hugged her curves just right, paired with black ankle boots that clicked softly on the tiled floor as she moved. Her dark hair fell in loose waves over her shoulders, and a delicate silver necklace caught the light every time she laughed. There was a quiet confidence about her, the kind that made me feel I could be completely myself. Over plates of creamy carbonara and fresh garlic bread, she asked about my last relationship. It ended because she tried to manipulate me into being more grateful, I said simply. Her friend coached her on how to play mind games. I found out, ended it, and never looked back. Sarah set down her fork, eyes wide but approving. That's refreshingly direct. Most people dance around that question. I smiled. I figure honesty saves everyone time. She grinned back. My last relationship ended because he couldn't make a decision without consulting his friends. Every choice was a committee vote. It was exhausting. "So what made you swipe right on my profile?" I asked. "Your bio said you value direct communication and hate drama." I thought, finally, someone who knows what they want. "And what do you want?" "Same as you. Something real. No scripts. No games. Just two people being honest about what they're feeling." I raised my glass. "I can work with that." A month later, I was grabbing a coffee at Pip's Original Donuts on Queens Road when I spotted Emily standing in line behind me. She saw me at the same moment and looked uncertain. I nodded politely. "Hey, hey," she said softly. She looked different, less styled, more natural. No heavy makeup, her hair pulled back casually in a loose bun. Her eyes held a vulnerability I hadn't seen in a while. "How are you?" "Good. Really good." It wasn't hostile, just honest. "You're better for it, I can tell." She paused, then said, "I'm sorry. I know I said it through Rachel, but I need to say it to you. I'm sorry for what I did." I nodded. "I appreciate that. I meant it. I hope therapy is helping." "It is. I'm learning a lot about myself. Not great things, but important things." We stood in awkward silence for a moment before she spoke again. "I'm not going to ask for another chance. I know that's done. I just want you to know that you were right about everything, and I'm grateful you didn't let me get away with it." I considered that. People who actually love you don't manipulate you. I hope you find someone who understands that from the start. I hope you found someone who deserves how you show up. Working on it. We got our orders and exchanged polite goodbyes. As I got into my car, I realized I felt nothing. Not angry, not satisfied, not sad, just neutral. That's when I knew I'd actually moved on. That evening, I sat on my balcony overlooking the twinkling city lights. Brian's words from months ago echoed in my mind. Asterisk, don't try to win her back. Just win. Asterisk. I hadn't won by being cruel or vindictive. I won by refusing to play, by maintaining boundaries, by choosing self-respect over comfort. Emily might become a better person. Sophie might never change. The friend group might remain scattered. But none of that was my problem anymore. I texted Sarah, the woman I'd been seeing for a few weeks. Someone who communicated directly and valued honesty. "Still on for tomorrow?" She replied immediately. Asterisk, absolutely. Looking forward to it. Asterisk. No games, no manipulation, just straightforward interest. I smiled, finished my coffee, and headed inside. Sometimes the best revenge isn't revenge at all. It's simply refusing to accept manipulation as normal and building something better without the person who tried to control you. The break Emily asked for became permanent, and I'd never been more okay with anything in my life. But just as I settled into this new chapter, a message popped up on my phone from an unknown number. It read, Asterisk, you haven't heard the last from Sophie. Asterisk. The calm was about to shatter again. It was a quiet Tuesday evening when my phone buzzed with that ominous message. You haven't heard the last from Sophie. I stared at the screen, the words lingering like a shadow I thought I'd left behind. Brighton's usual hum from the street below felt distant, as if the city itself was holding its breath. I deleted the message, hoping to dismiss it as a prank. But Sophie's name carried weight. The woman who'd systematically pulled strings behind the scenes, weaving manipulation like a spider spinning its web. I knew better than to underestimate her. The next day at work, the familiar hum of the open plan office was shattered by a group chat notification. It was from Rachel. Her message was terse. Sophie's back, trying to contact Emily and a few others. I leaned back in my chair, rubbing my temples. Just when I thought the storm had passed, the clouds were gathering again. That evening, I met Brian at our usual pub in Hove. The dim lighting flickered over his concerned face as I told him about the message. Looks like Sophie's not done stirring the pot, he said, taking a long sip of his lager. You ready for round 2? I shrugged. I don't want to be, but I'm not going to let her drag me back into that mess. Over the next few days, more messages from anonymous numbers popped up on my phone. Cryptic threats, half-truths about the past, hints that Sophie was threatening to expose personal details about Emily and me. The irony wasn't lost on me. The puppeteer now trying to pull me into her game. One afternoon, I ran into Amy at the climbing gym. She was mid-route, graceful and focused, her hair tied back in a messy ponytail that revealed a streak of silver I hadn't noticed before. "Hey Josh," she called down after finishing her climb. "You look like you're carrying the weight of the world." "Feels like it sometimes," I admitted. "We've heard Sophie's been stirring up trouble again," she said quietly. "Emily's trying to keep her at arm's length, but it's hard." I nodded. "I'm keeping my distance, but Sophie's like a bad penny." Amy smiled sadly. "She always comes back." That night, back in my flat, I sat down and started documenting everything. Every message, every call, every suspicious encounter. I wasn't going to be caught off guard again. As I compiled the evidence, my phone buzzed with a new message from an unknown number. Asterisk, careful who you trust. Not everyone is who they seem. Asterisk. I froze. Who was watching? And what was the real game this time? The calm I'd fought so hard to build was slipping through my fingers. But this time I wasn't alone. Brian was just a call away, and I was ready to face whatever Sophie threw next. As I stared out over the city lights, the question hung heavy. How deep did her web really go? The answer would come soon enough. And when it did, nothing would ever be the same. The following morning, I woke to an email that made my stomach twist. A carefully crafted message from Sophie's new account. No threats this time, just a cold, calculated reminder. Asterisk, remember, Josh, every story has two sides. Are you sure you know the whole truth? Asterisk. I stared at the screen, the words echoing in my mind like a sinister whisper. It was a challenge, and Sophie knew exactly how to provoke me. I forwarded the email to Brian, who responded almost instantly. She's playing a dangerous game. Stay sharp. Determined not to let her rattle me. I spent the day focusing on work, but the nagging feeling of being watched lingered. Every time my phone buzzed, my heart skipped a beat. That evening, Sarah and I met for dinner at a quiet bistro in Hove. She wore a soft lavender blouse that complemented her warm smile, and her eyes held that steady calm I'd come to rely on. Over plates of roasted chicken and seasonal vegetables, I shared the latest developments. She's resurfaced, I said, voice low, trying to sow doubt, make me question everything. Sarah reached across the table, her hand brushing mine. Don't let her get to you. You know the truth. You lived it. Her words grounded me, but the unease didn't fade entirely. After dinner, we took a walk along the seafront. The salty breeze tangled our hair as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in fiery hues. Are you scared? Sarah asked softly. I hesitated. Not scared, more tired. Like this drama keeps pulling me back when I'm trying to move forward. She squeezed my hand. You're stronger than you think. And you're not alone. The next day, I received an unexpected call from Emily. Her voice was tentative, guarded. Josh, I wanted to warn you. Sophie's been reaching out to some of our old friends, spreading rumors. She's trying to isolate me. And maybe you too. I ran a hand through my hair. Sounds like she's trying to drag us both back into her mess. Emily sighed. I'm sorry you have to deal with this. We're in this together, I said. We'll handle it. Over the next week, the harassment escalated. Anonymous messages, fake social media accounts popping up, even a strange package left at my doorstep. A bundle of old photos and a note that simply read, asterisk, watch your back, asterisk. I reported everything to the police, but they warned that without concrete evidence, there was little they could do. Brian helped me set up security cameras around the flat and advised me to stay vigilant. One night, as I reviewed footage from the front door, a shadow moved quickly across the frame. My heart hammered. Was Sophie back in town? Or was it someone else playing a dangerous game? I knew one thing for sure. This was no longer just about a breakup. It was a fight for control. And I wasn't about to lose. One rainy evening, as the wind howled outside my flat in Knoll Hill, I sat alone in the dim glow of my laptop screen, piecing together the growing puzzle. The security footage had captured a figure lurking near my door. Someone I couldn't quite make out, cloaked in a dark jacket, face obscured by a hood. My fingers hovered over my phone, ready to call Brian, when a sudden knock startled me. Heart pounding, I approached the door cautiously. Peering through the peephole, I saw Rachel standing there, soaked from the rain, her usually bright eyes shadowed with worry. "Rachel? What are you doing here?" I whispered, opening the door just enough to let her in. "I had to see you," she said, shivering. "There's something you need to know about Sophie. It's worse than you think." We sat close on the worn sofa, rain tapping against the window like a ticking clock. Rachel pulled out her phone, scrolling through a string of messages. Sophie's been in contact with people from Emily's past. Exes, old friends. She's been twisting stories, digging up dirt to use as leverage. But that's not all. I leaned in, heart racing. She's planning something bigger. I overheard a conversation. Something about exposing secrets that could ruin reputations. Emily's terrified. A cold dread settled over me. This wasn't just manipulation anymore. It was a calculated campaign. "Have you told Emily?" I asked. "She knows, but she's scared. Sophie's threatening to drag everyone down if she's pushed." I clenched my fists. "We need to stop her." Rachel nodded. "Agreed. But we'll need proof, something concrete." Over the next few days, Brian and I worked with Emily and Rachel, gathering evidence, documenting every message, every suspicious contact. We reached out to a private investigator friend who helped trace some of Sophie's online activity. Then came the breaking point. One evening, as I returned from a run along the seafront, I found my flat door ajar. The hair on the back of my neck stood up. Inside, boxes were overturned, personal belongings scattered. A chilling message was left on my kitchen counter. Written in neat, menacing script, "Asterisk. This is just the beginning. Asterisk." I called Brian immediately. He arrived within minutes, surveying the scene with a grim expression. "We need to get you somewhere safe," he said. As I packed a bag, I thought about everything I'd lost, and everything I was fighting to protect. The lines between friend and foe blurred. Trust was a luxury I couldn't afford. And Sophie? She was no longer just a toxic ex-friend. She was a storm I had to weather. But storms pass. And when they do, the landscape is never the same. The question was, would I be standing when the clouds finally cleared? Because one thing was certain. Sophie's game was far from over. Brian's spare room became my temporary refuge, a quiet sanctuary away from the chaos that had invaded my life. The walls were lined with shelves of books and the faint scent of pine from the open window. Despite the calm, every creak in the house made me jumpy. Every notification on my phone a potential threat. Emily called that evening, her voice steady but tinged with exhaustion. "We're stronger together, Josh. Sophie's tactics are desperate. She's running out of moves." I nodded, even though she couldn't see me. "We'll get through this." Days later, the private investigator delivered a breakthrough. Sophie's online activities had been traced to an address in a neighboring town. The police were involved, and a restraining order was in the works. Relief was tempered by the knowledge that the real battle was just beginning. One rainy afternoon, Brian and I sat in a cafe, strategizing the next steps when Sarah joined us. Her presence was a bomb, a reminder that not all relationships were built on games. She reached across the table, squeezing my hand. "You're not alone in this." I smiled, grateful. Weeks passed. Sophie's harassment faded, the legal wheels turning steadily. Emily continued her therapy, rebuilding herself piece by piece. Rachel's efforts to rebuild trust within our circle brought a cautious optimism. One evening, as I returned to my flat, the city lights sparkling beneath a velvet sky, I found a letter slipped under my door. The handwriting was unfamiliar. Inside was a simple note. Asterisk, truth has a way of coming out. Be ready. Asterisk. A shiver ran down my spine. Just as I thought the storm had passed, a new mystery emerged. Who was watching? And what truth was still waiting in the shadows? As I locked the door behind me, I realized the story wasn't over. It was only the beginning.